Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of your weekly Thera-Tea podcast. My name is Mr. Williams, or my real name is Tel Williams. I am a pre-K teacher, a therapist, and a social worker, and over here we have...
I am Amory DePietro, and as my shirt says, I'm still a nurse practitioner.
Still a nurse practitioner. I feel very farmers only right now, and I'm like hearing... You guys can't tell I'm wearing overalls, so we're just gonna do this. So much oh my god, it's so much quieter. I kind of wanted just a little like country moment, I guess.
Oh, it's beautiful. Now it looks like a little bib moment.
It's like I'm gonna go like chop wood or like I don't know, like cut slices of deli meat.
Yeah, something like that. Ruby's in her I don't want to sit with you era.
She's like, I want nothing to do with you. I'm busy.
Yeah, so we'll just see how that goes.
If you're listening and not watching, we got a pups with us. We have a puppy with us every episode.
Mm-hmm.
But she's getting older, and so she's like, I gotta show my butt a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
She could grow though. So hot topic. So today's episode, we are going to be doing Q&As. People anonymously sent in questions for us, mental health questions, whatever questions they wanted. And so we're going to read them for the first time today. So we have no idea what's on there, which will be exciting.
Yeah, we're going to pick what's that card game where you pick cards? Go fish?
Sure. Or Uno, or not Uno. I don't know. War.
Rummy?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm so bad at card games. I want to be better at it, but I'm not.
Colleen and I play card games in the ocean or in the pool. We got like waterproof cards.
Oh, that's funny.
And we play like on a float or something.
And they don't fly away?
No, not usually, because they get a little water on them.
Okay.
And then,
so they kind of like get weighed down.
Yeah. Yeah. And then people always are commenting like, he's winning. He's winning.
Like,
it's always like, Colleen's winning.
She's winning.
Colleen has to win, or... It's not a good scene.
The winner takes it all, as Abba said, as Mamma Mia said.
Mamma Mia.
So we're gonna be doing that, but I have been starting doing the hot topic. So this is like briefly sad, but I wanted to talk about parasocial relationships for a second, which is something that, and I haven't told you this story, and I've been like all day just like keeping it in.
Okay.
So if you know who Kyle Marissa Roth is, she was a TikTok influencer who did a lot of like celebrity blind items, and she passed away. And it was really bizarre. It was like reminiscent of the Kate Middleton stuff where people like feel entitled to information about her life and what happened, even though those answers aren't there, like simply because they followed her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this weird thing of like these parasocial relationships where it's like a kind of one-sided thing, right? So I got the most fucked up DM today on TikTok, or it was yesterday on TikTok.
Oh my god, what?
So I never check my messages just because I get like a bunch of them per day, and I never know what they're gonna say, and it's not great for my mental health. Sometimes people are sharing like stories about their life, or they're just talking about like, oh, like my son has autism too, and you know, and it's great. But then every so often you'll get one that's like a death threat or hate messages, and that like, affects my mental health. So I'm just not going to do that. So I very seldom, unfortunately, go through DMs. Well, I was getting like comments on videos from like years ago, and it was like rapidly coming to it. Almost looked like it was like junk, or like what's it called?
Bot.
Yeah, and it was like, Miss Rooms, please check your messages. And it was like on a bunch of different videos, and it was just like one after another after another. I was like, that's so weird. So I was like, okay, I never do this, but I'll go check the message. And to paraphrase it, I'll call him Bobby. It was like, trigger warning about death by suicide. It was like, today's my last night in the world, and I'm doing this to myself, and I just want to let you know that you mean so much to me. It would mean everything if I could talk to you. And then directly after that, it was Bobby disclosing what he thought about me physically, like very graphic. And I was like, gross. So I didn't answer because I was like, okay, that's just this person's way of trying to get my attention, right? So I was like, okay, I'm not going to engage in this. Well, then today I'm getting messages from the same account, right? And I was like, I'm just going to go block them. And I click on it, And it was like, hey, I took over my brother's account. This is his sister. Why wouldn't you message him back? And I was like, oh my God. And I checked the account because I didn't click on the account ever. And they follow a bunch of people, 0 followers. Picture was definitely not of them. And there was like a single TikTok with like black background and text saying that like brother passed away. This is sister. She got a hold of the account, blah, blah. Don't know why. Again, no one follows the account.
Mhm.
And so I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was very uncomfortable with the message that your brother wrote. I'm sorry for your grief and your loss. And then immediately response was, just kidding, this is Bobby. Anyways, like, how was your day? I was fucking livid. So I
Oh
blocked them because I
my
was like, what?
God.
That's so fucked up.
That is so
And
fucked.
I'm like, these like feeling connected to an influencer or a celebrity or like there are so many like celebrities or influencers that have passed away. I'm like, oh, that really sucks. I liked them, right? But I don't know them IRL, and so
Mhm.
the fact that people will allow their mental health to be influenced by an influencer, right? Like,
Mhm.
baby, we cannot be your number one source of mental well-being. Ruby is like running around. But I just had to tell you that because I thought that was the strangest like message I think I've ever gotten. I was like, this is just
That
secure
is
why.
wild.
Yeah. So hopefully there's nothing creepy here today.
Oh my
I
gosh.
just like it was literally like I was like, of course, is right after I make a video about like respecting people's like personal lives and such.
Of course.
Let's start with questions.
Okay.
First question we have is
Why did you get to go first?
because they're right there and blue is one of my favorite colors.
Fine. Then I
um
answer first.
yes, let me read. Dyslexia is fun.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Why is it so difficult for women to get an ADHD diagnosis, especially if they didn't show the typical signs in childhood and the symptoms were not a problem until adulthood?
So, a couple things about that. The question is sort of phrased to like model some issues in the DSM. So, the DSM, if you're not aware, is the manual that we use to make diagnoses. So, it has criteria. You either meet the criteria or you don't. One of the criteria for ADHD is that you have symptoms prior to the age of 12, um, and also that they were problematic. So, a lot of times that's why, they might say you don't meet the criteria, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. However, it doesn't really account for whatever coping mechanisms you developed as a child or whatever systems your parents might have put in place to
Right.
like give you structure, or like how your symptoms presented or
Right.
your like natural intelligence level and
Yeah.
how far that could carry you. They did change from DSM-4 to DSM-5 the age. I think before it was 7, prior to the age of 7, and now it's
Yeah.
12. So, there was sort of some forward
Right.
movement with that, but and I think for women, a lot of times women report anxiety first. And so there's then a lot of time spent on treating anxiety.
Yeah.
And you get stuck in that loop of like anxiety medicine after anxiety
Right.
medicine after anxiety medicine. Um, and then it just goes by the wayside.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about before too, like along with that, it's the history of, not that gender is a binary, but talking about it as male, female, typically, um, males present ADHD in a very different way than females present ADHD. And so historically what we've seen is study after study after study after study being like, oh, well, male or young men get ADHD at a higher rate than women. And because of that, the pool that they take for research is almost always exclusively or by and large way more men or males than females. And because of that, when we were looking at criteria of diagnoses, when we're looking at a history of it, because females aren't as accounted for, then all of the research that's done when we make the DSM and create the criteria is based off of the symptoms as males have and not as much females.
Hmm.
It's also kind of fucked because it's like they only think that the time of diagnoses is at childhood, and we're seeing way more that it's not. And so the
Hmm.
DSM is really difficult when you're looking at it from an adult perspective because a lot of it's like do you parallel play? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
Well, and also it's the type of provider that you go
yeah,
to, right? If you're going to someone who's very like black and white,
yeah,
you go in, you say a few things, they tell
right,
you what you have, you go on your way. That's one thing, but if
yeah,
you're going in and someone's like actually digging deeper and trying to
right,
see like what's going on and what are the functionally impairing symptoms that you're having, um I mean, I think it all starts with finding the right provider to
yeah,
diagnose you because you could go to like 10 different providers and get 10 different
yeah,
diagnoses for sure.
100%. I think it is. It's all about finding the right provider and someone that's going to advocate and listen to you. Because the DSM, at the end of the day, a huge portion of it is written by people who don't see people face to face as much. They do more research, and it's a tool really for
Hmm.
insurances
Hmm.
to be able to bill insurances at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your turn.
Okay. How do you feel about mental health and cosmetic procedures? Do you get any? This is so ironic because I just went to Gambier this morning.
Gambier is the place we both go for cosmetic stuff.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just randomly ended up going to the same
place.
place. How
Yeah,
long have you been going there?
3 years, 2 years, or 3 years.
I realized today, because I always talk about how, like, I've been getting Botox since I was 27, and I've never gotten Botox anywhere else
Yeah,
other than there. So, like, literally, it's going to be a decade. Isn't
a
that
10-year
crazy?
relationship.
Yeah, the longest relationship of my life,
Um,
besides with my nail tech.
and if you find a good nail tech, you don't
I
leave
know, but I
them.
broke up with him because now I do my own nails. So Gambier's on the list for longest relationship. But
um, I think it's like always within reason, right? I mean, there's some cosmetic procedures you might get done where like they need a therapist or a mental health physician to sign off, right? But for
hmm
like I don't mind looking older. I think it's fun. I especially when you have a parent that passes away at a young age, it's like a privilege. But I have like really big divots here, and I noticed that the first time I ever got Botox done was during the pandemic when I was wearing a mask because my students couldn't see my face, my or at least my mouth, and if I was smiling, but I always would have this scrunched up like divot. I always had it,
hmm
and even when I was like it was still just these huge lines. And so my students would think I was angry with them or when I was joking or whatever. And I was like, oh, so the first time I got it done, it was kind of to help this area right here. Um, I don't think I think if like if you're going in with realistic expectations, if you're not going in to like avoid something, right? I think
Right.
it's totally healthy.
Or if you're not going in to like get something out of it,
Right.
like for your mental health, like if you're going in like, I hate myself so much, I want to go in and
Right.
change something,
Right.
versus like when I go in and I'm like, yo, what are we going to do about these genetic under eye circles that we
Right.
have? And my
Right.
bachelorette party's next week,
Next
so let's
on
be
Wednesday, yeah.
snatched.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Like if you're going in and you're like, if I don't get this chin fat removal out, then I'm it's going to
I
deepen my
can't
depression.
function. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So we
Yeah.
want to get someone to a place where
Right.
like you want to get it done, but you don't need to get it done.
Right. And
Yeah.
you're not like changing your whole look. It's sort
No.
of just like enhancing.
Yeah.
So like you said, do you get any? So I can just say what I get. I get Botox, I got Voluma, which is filler. I've gotten the PRP where they like take your blood and then they make it into some like gelatinous solution and inject it in your lips and stuff and it builds collagen. um I don't know, I sometimes I'm like, um I want to get like more stuff, but they tell me that I don't need
And I
it.
think that's what I like about there too is like they've never ever done something that like they've what's it called underselled
Yeah,
all the time. Like I went
yeah.
in once and I was like, I'm having these like I was getting like this line like right here. It was very strange. And they were like, I was like, can we just do this? And like, no. And they're like I've gotten Botox and fill like cheek filler here and some of my lip because of being told my lips were uneven when I was doing a TV show. But all the time they've been,
My lips are uneven, so.
yeah, like one was like
Well, they
much
fixed that
smaller.
today.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're well, thank God, you know. Nothing that anyone else would notice. And again, I didn't go being like this would destroy me. Like, oh, if it is, like I have to be on camera for stuff. Can
Mhm.
we? But yeah, it's I've gone there so many times and like and they just listen. I'm like, Derek, do you want some to cover the like crow's feet or whatever, the wrinkles out of your eyes or here? I'm like, I
Mhm.
love my laugh lines and I love my wrinkles here, and they've never been like, you should get them fixed, like ever.
Yeah.
Like I like that I have, like you can't see now because of
Yeah.
my hair, but I like to have wrinkles on my forehead.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, I'm obsessed with my under eyes, like just in like because I'm so tired of covering them up
yeah,
with, like my whole life. Lately, I've just been rocking them, but I went in before, and I was seeing Dr. Gambier, male Dr. Gambier, because they're
there's two. It's a
married.
husband and wife.
Yeah, and now I'm seeing Nikki, the PA, and you see the other
I see
PA,
Lindley.
right?
Lindley,
Yeah,
she's great.
we love that.
Yeah,
Um, anyway, he was like, I wanted filler under my eyes. And he was like, no, I think what would be better is if you put filler like up in your cheeks so you
right.
like lift it up
Yeah,
more. And so, like, I went in wanting my cheek filler, like, and under eye filler. And he
yeah,
was like, I think we just need to do
yeah,
the Voluma. But I mean, I think that it's hard to find a place where they like don't upsell you.
yeah.
And you know what? They never try to sell me products, which I really
Never.
appreciate.
Yeah, they're
I've
great.
asked for them
Yeah,
before.
they've they
Like
like
the under eye cream, I had to
yeah.
ask for it.
I've never had a bad experience, and they also did like they do like in September do like a back to school teacher thing, which was super cool.
Oh, do
Yeah.
they?
Yeah, they did like a back to school thing there. Maybe I'll see if they'll do it
Oh,
again
did
this
you hear
year.
they're opening 4 new
I
locations?
did not.
They're like mini locations where it's not going to be like the full thing, but they're going to have like some like personalized type
Cute.
services. Yeah, it's she said Glen Mills, Philly. I forget where the other ones were because it's not close to here, so I
Right.
brain
So if
dumped
you're in
it.
the Philly
But
area or the
yeah,
where
I
we're at
mean we're
now,
closest to the Exton office anyway,
yeah,
and I wouldn't break up with anyone at the Exton
no,
office. We love
we
them.
got to keep them. We got to keep them good and
They're
healthy.
rocking our Thera-Tea pens.
They are. And I
Hmm.
like that. I like that you went and gave them some.
Yes. But cosmetic procedures for the win, in
Yeah.
summary.
This is definitely from my trainer.
Mm.
So how to cope with your fiance telling you that you have American Girl doll teeth. So
Oh my
we literally talk
God.
about this at sessions all the time. Obviously he's joking. But no, I think this so my nutritionist that I see for my disordered eating and ADHD stuff, um, uh him and his fiance's a doctor, and she's super sweet. But she one day told him that he looked like he had American Girl doll teeth, and so we joke about it a lot. But I think this is funny just because I don't know. I think that something that happens when and they've been together for like 10 some years, um, is like we lose some of that flirtation or like fun in a relationship, and some of that like um gentle and like witty and comical like banter back and forth, not necessarily like obviously like she's teasing him, but in a way that she knows he's not going to be offended by and take it
Hmm.
personally. And I think that like, oh, Ruby,
Ruby. Come here, Ruby.
I think that like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's important to remember to like have fun and play in relationships, and I think that's funny that like that one came up. Okay, so calling things that you make fun of her too much.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's just my personality, though.
It's your way of showing love. It's
Yeah,
you're like Helga G.
yeah.
Pataki.
I tease her all the time, like when she meets new people, because everyone thinks she's like 20 years younger than she is.
Uh-huh.
So I'll be like, how old do you think Colleen is? And she hates when I play that game. But sometimes it ends up making me feel like poopy because they'll like predict my age accurately and they'll say she looks like 28. And I'm
You're
like,
it comes by and it bites you. Bites you in the butt.
I'm like, she gets Botox too, okay.
Listen. No, I think I like that though. I think like playfulness is fun. Like Jason and I will like go back and like we tease each other all the time, and there's like now things that we're like, okay, we can tease about this, this, and this, but don't tease me about that. And like, we'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like that's fine. We'll make that like a boundary. But like, I think it's, I don't know. I don't want to be like a boring old person and forget how to have fun in a
Yeah,
relationship.
for
Like,
sure.
all right, it's your
Okay, my
turn.
turn.
That looks like a long one.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Are benzodiazepines okay long term for help sleeping? I've been taking them for a long time for sleep, and my issues are anxiety and fibromyalgia. Old doc was fine with me taking. I don't misuse. I don't misuse and have no substance abuse issues. It's a small dose that works for me. New doc doesn't want me taking it. Well, benzo discussion is loaded.
Yeah.
So I actually just read like 3 new meta-analyses on this because the research is like constantly changing. So I actually read a meta-analysis of meta-analyses. So they took like all the meta-analyses that have been done on long-term benzo use and,
Yeah.
analyzed it. So, like, the conclusion really is that there's no conclusion. Like, it's just like so variable and it's impossible to control for all of the different,
Yeah.
like, confounding factors. So, I think it's just like any medication that you can become dependent on. If it's a low dose for sleep, like I usually don't mind it or change it because then you end up like going through all these other medications that could also have long-term effects, like quetiapine, for example, or Seroquel. Like, am I really happier about someone being on Seroquel than clonazepam 0.25 milligrams? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm better off with the other one. So I think it's more for me if someone's on like Xanax 2 milligrams 4 times a day and like every time they get anxious they're taking it,
Yeah.
because then you're learning that behavior of like, I feel anxious, now I need that medication.
Right.
Um I don't use it other than like for sleep, sometimes in small doses as a rescue med for people who have like infrequent panic attacks. I'm
Hmm.
talking like 10 pills in 3 months.
Hmm.
Or with Tourette's. I do it daily for individuals with severe Tourette's because it's like really good
It's super
with
effective.
tics. Yeah.
So it's very case by case. It's like hard to
Yeah.
be like
Yeah.
blanket statement whether or
Right.
not.
Well, because they say, like, oh, long term use causes dementia. Like, there's definitely no data to support that. And there's actually mixed data showing that it could be neuroprotective
Oh
also.
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it still increases the chance of falls in the elderly. Like,
Yeah.
lots of medications have warnings for the elderly. And lots of elderly people have adverse reactions to benzos that doesn't necessarily calm down that dementia related agitation. But no, if someone came to me on a low dose benzo for sleep, I would leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
And they shouldn't either.
Right.
And they
Exactly.
should not either.
Exactly.
Um, oh my God. Okay, this is specifically asking me a question. I was like, confused. Why didn't your parents tell you you were on the spectrum? What was their reasoning? Did you go to any doctors or therapist to help you with your autism when you were younger? And what did that look like? That's a good question. So we have an episode that we did like a month ago, maybe about it. Um, but I think long story short, I when I was in pre-K and kindergarten, I was observed because I had a really bad, I shouldn't say bad, I had a speech and language delay that was pretty significant. And that's kind of what started my IEP. But then they, looked at me for ADHD and autism and dyslexia, and I was diagnosed with all of those. And so I think my mom was just so concerned. I was picked on a lot as a kid, as a young kid. And so I think she was just concerned that like this would further like ostracize me and kind of like other me. So I don't think that she did it from a place of malice, but I obviously it had a profound effect on me to be
Hmm.
diagnosed at a young age and then to not know why I was so um I learned so differently from everyone else.
Mhm.
It definitely hit my confidence quite a bit. And I didn't see doctors for it because, my mom, if I would have saw medication, then I would have known. I don't know what her thing was with that.
It's interesting that she was cool with you being on the bipolar medicine
Right.
and like didn't say anything even then.
Yeah. I think also a lot of it too is like when we heard ADHD, I feel like in the 90s it was like, oh, it's just hyperness and not able to pay
Yeah,
attention. So
yeah.
I think that when I was showing signs of depression because of my ADHD, she wasn't correlating it with that at all. And I don't think that my family doctor that I was started having, so I went to one as a kid, my pediatrician, and then we all saw the same family doctor after that. And I think the new one didn't necessarily know. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like I would have seen it in my charts at some point. But yeah, I think that she didn't even correlate that like people with ADHD can become anxious or depressed because it's
Hmm.
really difficult when you're your head's screaming 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That reminds me, so I went to Catholic school, but we had a kid in our class that would like get up a lot, like he
yeah,
would want to like go in the closet,
hmm,
and he was just now I recognize it as
yeah,
autism for sure, but I can tell you with 100% certainty, no one ever talked about that. No one was
no,
aware. None of the other kids, like including
right,
myself, knew what that was.
yeah,
And that was in the 90s. So
yeah.
like in 2000, I was in 8th grade. So
Yeah. I think it's a lot of it too is like looking back, like, so my dad always tells the story. My fascination with stairs. I loved stairs, staircases. I mean, the labyrinth, besides David Bowie freaking me out, the labyrinth I loved. And I remember in first grade, we were going back from, I think, music, and I was at the end of the line because it was alphabetical. And everyone went to Mrs. Overman's class, and I just kept going forward, and I climbed a staircase I always wanted to climb. No one ever was able to go up it because it led to nothing. There was a door there and nothing. And I climbed up and I sat at the top of it, and I was missing for like a few hours, and they were freaking out. The school went on lockdown. They called my parents, and they didn't think to look up there because why? And I think my dad actually was the one that came to school that was like, "Have you guys checked the stairs?" And they're like, "What?" And I was fascinated with the stairs, so I was up there. And I saw a therapist. I saw an occupational therapist who, again, I don't think they're being malicious, but taught me a lot of shitty things. um, but no, I think you're right. Like we probably can look back and think of kids we went to school with, or even like ADHD in ourselves of being like,
Hmm.
oh, that I was definitely suffering from ADHD,
Right.
or like having like a really like um huge symptom of that in class, and just thought I was like, you know, having a wiggle moment.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
but yeah, no, I think that I don't think it was anything malicious. And what did it look like? Again, the episode the we cover a lot of it there. It was just
Hmm.
inability to socialize in a, I think, age appropriate way. A lot of fascinations with only things that I enjoyed. A lot of language delay that some of the language delay is still there now. And just, I don't know, like fascination with random things like staircases. Like, um, okay, next question.
I just realized I should probably explain this hideous thing on my hand because it's
I was
just
gonna
like
ask
up in
about
the
that too. What
camera.
happened?
So I was making my pens,
Yeah.
obviously, and my glue gun was clogged. So I obviously thought it would
No.
be a good idea to push through, and the glue just went
How hot is your glue gun?
hot, I guess.
Is it like an industrial glue gun or just like a
It's a
craft one?
Ryobi one,
I don't know what that means.
like Home Depot.
Oh, so it's not a craft one.
I mean, it's a glue
Aha, glue
gun.
gun. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
not like the little like petite one I have for like
No, 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 not the mini glue
girl, my
gun.
God.
I know, it's bad. I always burn myself. Like, remember the time I picked up my curling wand from the wrong end?
Oh, I've done that.
Oh,
There's no pain like that.
no. I had my hand in ice for 6 hours.
It is I was doing wigs and I did the same thing
Hmm.
and there was hairspray on it, so it
Yeah.
stuck
It's
too.
almost like you don't know it happened
No.
until you're like,
And you have to like think to let go.
yes,
Because I was like,
yes,
what do I do?
exactly
Oh,
that.
fucking let go. It hurts
I
so
know,
bad.
I know. I know. I couldn't figure out why I did it when I've never done it before. And then I realized I had a larger barrel in it because it's that T3 interchangeable one. And it's like the same width as the
Oof.
base. So now every time I pick it up, I'm like, let me look
Is
very
it the right?
clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like 2 weeks later, I dropped the curling iron on my thigh and burned it again.
Oh,
So
burns are the worst
yeah,
too.
that hand burn was like, I'm surprised I don't have a scar from it. Like,
Devastating.
I have a high pain tolerance and I was like crying.
Oh yeah, burns are the they just are there for so long and the pain
Hmm.
doesn't go away. It's like
Yeah,
a paper cut.
yeah,
It just stays for days.
I know. So anyway, that's the ugly thing.
The mark on the hand.
Um, just started getting to know someone, asked what his red flag was, and he responded, temper, but in a good way. But like, how is that good? Should I run?
So his red flag is that he likes temper.
I
I
couldn't
think s
figure out if it was like her asking him like, well,
what's her
they or no, she said his.
yeah.
Okay. Um like what red flag should I have for
It sounds like she said
you?
what are your red flags? Is that what it's saying? Hold on, let me see.
I feel like it's saying
Just so you
that
can
he
ask
has a
what
temper in a good
his red
way.
flags are.
Yeah.
And his response was temper, but in a good way. So his red flags is that he has a temper, but he thinks it's a good thing.
Yeah. I don't know how it's good.
Yeah, I don't think temper is ever getting frustrated is fine, but if they're saying that their temper, if it's a short
But
fuse, I
they
don't
are
know.
admitting it, so if you have that like insight into it, then like
But they think it's
maybe
good.
I mean, I would definitely need to ask some clarification
Yeah.
questions.
If someone is saying that like a red flag is that they have a temper and it's a
But
good
maybe
thing,
they get like passionate about stuff.
I mean, I may, and I think a lot of it too is like asking. I would have 100% at that moment ask clarifying question about temper because
Hmm.
like being passionate and excited about something in a way that's like laser focused is so different, right? Than to be like short fuse and like
Hmm.
angry, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The first Thanksgiving, or actually the first time we met my family was at Thanksgiving, and he said, "Why are you guys yelling at each other?" And he's like, "You guys are like fighting." I'm like, "What?" And I like asked my siblings, we all started laughing because we're Puerto Rican, so
Mm-hmm.
we are constantly talking and yelling loudly, but we're not angry.
Right.
But as someone who was an only kid, he was like,
Yeah. The same thing happened to me. Like, I literally had a therapist be like, I think you guys need to, not Colleen, someone else, Barbie, actually, um, appreciate the cultural
"Yeah,
differences because, like, she perceived everything. Like,
right,
my normal voice was like, she'd think I was yelling right now.
right, yeah, it's a different because
And
you're
I'd be
like
like, that's
100%
how I
Italian,
talk. Yeah,
yeah,
100%. DNA verified.
yeah." I think that's the thing. It's like the perception. So like he might have been told that his temper was something, you know what, a passion, and passion and temper is so different. If someone
Hmm.
is getting angry with you, and not only like you said, if you can recognize, well, my red flag is my temper, but I it's something I actively am working on, and I know I
Hmm.
don't like about myself. But for him to be like, it's my temper, and I like it, I'd be like, not
What do you
cute.
like
Yeah,
about it?
why? I
Let's
also
talk
love
about
that
that.
this was printed on a red piece of paper.
Oh yeah, the irony.
um,
I don't think she needs to run though.
I think she's asked clarifying questions.
What did she use she pronouns for herself? We don't
Oh
know.
no, they,
Oh,
he,
oh my gosh,
them.
we're assuming.
We're two gay people are assuming it's a guy
Oh
and a
my
girl.
gosh. That is look at
I know, look
society.
at us.
That is
We,
fucked.
yeah, we've been indoctrinated.
I mean, I caught it though.
You did. You said
I caught
we're gonna be
us.
better.
Rewind.
Two gays.
Rewind.
We got a homo and a lesbian, and we're
I
sitting here saying
know. I
heterosexualness.
know. Do you think we have
Disgusting.
internalized homophobia?
For sure.
Oh my
And this
gosh.
proves that this is our red flag. You know
We're
what?
homophobic.
We are. We got to be better.
We
Well,
will.
they don't have to run. I
Okay.
think they should
They.
ask clarifying questions.
Yeah, clarifying questions. And also, like, see the level of insight that he has.
Yeah.
I
Because we know it is a
mean,
he.
Yes, we do know it's a he. And also ask if he's homophobic.
Yeah. I also think that people should normalize asking maybe like on a first date too. I think that's a cute like getting to know you. Like what's a green, beige, and a red flag about yourself, right?
Beige.
Beige means that it's like neutral. Like it's not
Oh,
well it's not it's more on the positive side. It's not like a negative thing. Like maybe a beige flag
oh,
is like they have to sleep with both a comforter, a duvet, and sheets. You
oh.
know, it's like it's not. But I
Beige is
think
a weird word
I
for that.
know. Well, I
Hmm.
think yellow would be like caution, and it's not
Yeah,
necessarily caution.
yeah.
And I probably um explained beige flag wrong because I'm not Gen Z, and like I think they might have come up with the term. I don't
Oh,
know.
Gen Z came up with it?
They come up with all this shit. They
Hmm.
really do. I was hoping this one would be about. Hold on. No, I thought this would be a green flag one. If your spouse says they are ready for therapy but blow off making the appointment, is it appropriate to call for them or just wait it out? Signed, annoyed. um, here's my thing. I one, I think maybe bring up why they haven't made the appointment.
Or like, was there an agreement that they were going to be the one to make the appointment?
Right, right. Because I don't know, like blowing off making it could you might be perceiving as them blowing it off, or they might be either hesitant because they're nervous, or if they have ADHD or
Oh
something
my
like
God.
that.
I
Like,
was going to say, if it was me, I'd 100%
oh
not be
yeah,
making it.
oh I mean that I knew I needed therapy. I got diagnosed with ADHD in November, and I started seeing a therapist in March. And I knew I needed to go. I was in graduate school to become a therapist. There was no like hang up. It's just hard to remember to sit down, look for a therapist, message the therapist. Like it
That
is
actually reminds me, I have to reschedule with our couples therapist. She emailed me and I haven't responded
right.
yet.
So it's I don't it couldn't it's not even I mean like you've talked before like it's not like it's a horrible thing that you go to like you enjoy
No, I
doing
love
it. Yeah.
Tiffany.
So it's like I think it's like I would ask like, is there a reason why? I actually had two friends go through this. It's like they're a couple. They're not married though, so I wouldn't think it's them. But my friend's boyfriend was like, I really feel like I should get into therapy. The nicest guy just has like some, family stuff to work through. And she was like frustrated about it. And I was like, but we know he has like ADHD and autism. Like is it just that he keeps forgetting? Is it this? And it was 100% that. And so, like, you shouldn't have to parent your partner. So
Hmm.
maybe it's a thing where it's like, we have these tasks to do. Why don't we spend an hour at the kitchen table and, like, I'm going to work on this, this, and this. And maybe you work on finalizing your schedule, calling for a therapist, and, like, doing the grocery list if that's their
Hmm.
chore. So you're not doing it for them, but you're creating a space where it's like, let's sit down and get some work done.
Right. Or if it's couples therapy and you know your partner struggles with like making
Hmm.
appointments, like you could make it. It does sound to me like you kind of feel like you're more invested in doing couples therapy than
Yeah.
your partner. So maybe there's an
Yeah.
issue there of worrying that your partner's not invested in improving things. And
Yeah.
so you're utilizing them making the effort to make the appointment to gauge their level of commitment, which
Yeah.
might not necessarily be the case.
And if this is, I think that's a good point because it says if your spouse says they are ready for therapy. So if it's like with you, if it's couples, right? If they are ready for therapy, it makes me think you asked them to do it, right? So we're gonna set ourselves up for failure if they were reluctant before, and we're like you said, to show the commitment, you're gonna have them do it.
Hmm.
Probably not the right move to make. If they're
No.
saying I'm ready, they were already reluctant and avoidant, and for them to say that, like, don't put another challenge in front of them. Maybe like help them out a bit and say, okay, like I'm glad that you're ready. If they were not going to the appointments, that were scheduled,
Hmm.
whole other issue. But
Right.
it just sounds like, yeah, that they were
Sounds
needing
like you
help.
also need to have a clarifying conversation.
100%. I think the theme I'm seeing with a lot of these is really like communication.
Oh, for sure.
Like a lot of it, even when it's like about like self. I think a lot of this is like our communication styles and not being afraid to ask for what we want or just to like have discussions because 9 times out of 10, the lead up or the thought of the discussion is way worse than the actual
Yes.
discussion.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
Yeah. Or you're already building things up in your head. So you're assuming what your partner thinks and
Yep.
feels. So you're already reacting to their reaction, but they haven't even had their reaction yet. You're
100%.
just assuming what their reaction's
Yeah.
going to be.
They're gonna think this, and this, and it's that's not
Mm-hmm.
the case,
Mm-hmm.
you know? I think that's really important to be like, hey, let's give them the benefit of the doubt just to ask instead of wonder what it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be.
Yeah.
All right, next it's your go.
Okay. Oh, oh goodness. I know Tell told the story of his first date with his husband. How did Emery meet Colleen and what was their first date? I feel like I keep chuckling like that after every question.
Okay.
I don't know if I've ever told you this story. Have I? The story of like the first date that never ended?
I think we've talked about the beginning of the relationship, but never the
Okay.
first date.
So first of all, Colleen and I are still on our first date. It never ended. It only ended when she was in the hospital for like 8 days, a few weeks after we met, like after her surgery, her cancer surgery.
Was that during COVID times? Oh,
Yes. It was 2021, so we were on the
yeah.
tail end.
Okay.
Um, so we met on Hinge, and I feel like I told the story before about how I thought she was ghosting me because she didn't
Yeah,
answer the
yeah,
message.
yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so we were talking. I did my whole like I don't want to waste too much time talking
Yeah.
thing. And long story short, with like how we physically met each other, Colleen was supposed to go to Hawaii. She got the wrong COVID test. Instead of getting the right COVID test and going to Hawaii from her connecting flight in, I think it was Seattle, she then decided to come home because I was so amazing that she wanted to meet
So
me.
much. There.
And like secondarily, we had convinced her she should get her cancer treatment sooner,
Yeah.
but priority was definitely meeting me.
Right. It had nothing to
Yeah.
do with the cancer
Yeah,
treatment. Yeah.
exactly. Not at all. But she did end up getting a call from her oncologist surgeon person
Yeah.
while she was on the layover to come home. Like we like had your tumor reviewed at the tumor board and you need to have surgery right away. It's worse than we thought. So, it
Yeah.
happened, chance happens. So now there's a layer of complexity here that I haven't mentioned,
Uh-huh.
which is at the time that I met Colleen, I may or may not have had my ex's dog.
Why'd you have the ex's dog?
So that's even more complicated. So this is Barbie, the ex that broke up with me on the plane,
Yeah, yeah.
had the pen girl, went back to, okay. So we had gone another like year without speaking, probably. And then out of the blue, she texts me and is like, I'm getting, what did they call in the military? Transferred like back to Georgia.
Okay.
So like she was moving.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I think it was a like, do you want to say goodbye type thing? And somehow that want to say goodbye thing turned into I need to go to Georgia for a training. Do you want to watch the dog for a week so you can say goodbye to it?
Okay.
Okay. So I was like, sure. I mean, it's harder for me to break up with animals than
Yeah,
people.
because they don't know, and they'll
No,
never
they
know. They
don't
don't
know.
understand.
No. And he loved me so much because he was with me like a lot of the time because I was working at home.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I somehow thought this was a good idea. It was really not a good idea at all.
No.
So if it was the 1 week, like maybe that would have been fine. But at day like 6, she was like, JK, I have to be here for a month.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay. And at the same time was like, JK, I have to be here for a month. I don't think I should ever talk to you again and we shouldn't be
So what
together.
happened to the dog?
So what happened was I ended up meeting Colleen like in the week or two after that. And I still had this dog. So I'm like, how the fuck am I going to explain this to this
Right.
girl? Like, this is my ex's dog
Yeah.
that I'm watching actively for my ex.
Right.
I don't even remember I told her. We should ask Colleen because I feel like Colleen like would have been like, what the fuck? But
Yeah.
so So I had the ex's dog. The first time I met Colleen's parents, I brought my ex's dog to the house because
Oh
I
my
had no
God.
other
Right.
option. When we went to my parents, my dad and Colleen like talked shit on my ex, like, and the dog, like
And the
actively.
dog.
Yeah, and the dog. I was like, Dad, there's a thing wrong with the dog. He was like, that dog's annoying. So, anyways, so then it ended up that she then accused me of stealing the dog and not wanting to return the dog because Colleen was in the hospital at this point. So let me just add, Colleen's actively in the hospital at Penn. I'm still watching my ex's dog, and I didn't have a dog at the time,
Right.
which means like I'm having to go let the dog out. It
Right.
has to go to the bathroom, it has to eat, whatever. And I needed to be at the hospital with Colleen, so I like couldn't meet her to give the dog
Right.
back. Like full blown meltdown, like threatening to like call the cops and whatever. I was like, you need to relax.
Yeah.
But it was that little burst where when they realize you're dating someone else and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, I still remember this clear as day and we still make fun of it. We finally resolved that because I pulled the cancer card and I was like, she has cancer. And then like you can't really be a dick after that.
Right. Like there's a lot of shit going on right now
Right.
that like
Right.
I'm not trying to take your dog and unfortunately like this dog that although
Right.
I love them, like
Right.
bigger fish to fry at the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and she's like 5 or 6 years younger than me, so not a millennial.
Right.
And you know how that generation like doesn't talk on the phone, they just FaceTime.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I hate that. So like she FaceTimed me because the dog was getting picked up or had gotten picked up or whatever, and I just so happened to be in Colleen's hospital room.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting on Colleen's hospital bed. Colleen's like behind me in her like hospital stuff. And I like open the phone and obviously like Colleen's in the background and Colleen's like trying to dodge out of it. And she goes, oh my God, she's like so pretty. Like just like that. I'm not even kidding. It was exactly like
Oh
that
my
in
God.
that voice. Oh my God, she's like so pretty. How fucking awkward are you?
Right. Like, ma'am, can
Yeah.
we just get back to the dog?
I was like, yes, you're right. It is a level up.
Yeah.
But um yeah, in many more ways than one. But so that it's the first date that never ended. Like we never like had like a second date because it just went into like,
Yeah.
you know, we took care of my ex's dog together. So
Right.
that was an experience. We went through cancer surgery together.
Yeah.
So that was an experience. And yeah, I mean, wouldn't leave the house. So,
It's like the first date takes you all the way up to the wedding.
oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Up until I don't think we had been apart until I went to St. Louis for the first time, like after we had been dating. And
Oh,
I was
wow.
working at home because it was still COVID. So, like,
Yeah.
we were together 24/7.
You know, it's so funny because I think I've said it like on when I do a Q&As on live and or like when uh I've had clients talk to me, I'm like, you know, if immediately after we meet someone, we're like haven't separated in days and days and days and days, like we might look at that. It's so strange though, because we can't do that with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there's I know so many people who met someone and like they ended up like doing those COVID bubbles together because they're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, I know I really want to like get to know this person, but I can't just go around and frivolously see people. Like Jason and I had bubbles of friends that like we knew that we would only see each other.
Mm-hmm.
And we wouldn't see anyone else so that like you know, and so it's hard because during COVID, even 2021 was still like
Mm-hmm.
height COVID really,
Mm-hmm.
especially because we had these dips of like the
Mm-hmm.
seasons. That's just like, yeah, sometimes it works for people, and COVID I think reset a lot of the ways that
Mm-hmm.
we date.
Yeah, I mean, and the cancer surgery really did too, because she had
Yeah,
like a giant abdominal incision
right.
and she needed like help when she
Yeah.
came
Well, and you're a
home.
nurse too, which is
So
like,
yeah, so
yeah,
she stayed with me and
yeah.
I nursed her back to health.
Is that gonna be in the vows?
Yeah,
Okay,
probably.
good.
No, my vows are gonna be the Corey and Topanga vows from Boy Meets
Oh,
World.
that's cute.
No, Colleen's gonna be so mad. I've said this like it's probably since the episode aired. where Corey and Topanga got married, and Colleen's like, "You're not gonna say it," but like I'm
You're,
100% saying it.
you think that, but I
Mm-hmm.
will.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. So it's so the first date is still happening.
Yeah, it's still happening. We're still on the first date.
How many years has it been?
God, I mean,
Or 2001, I guess.
so many.
3,
I
4.
guess three,
That's
three.
funny.
It feels like 24.
The other,
But like in actual year, like if you think about spending actually
oh yeah,
24/7
time with
with
someone for
someone
sure.
and like what that would have been in a normal situation where like people go to work
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
it's literally probably 30 years.
That's something that like we had again because like COVID, like couples were like, "This is you, like this is you every day, 24 hours." Because like
Hmm.
n- normally couples do not spend 24 hours together.
Right.
Even Jason and I didn't. Like COVID was tough for us because we did everything opposite. We um started dating after a few months. We moved in together for like maybe a year. I don't even know if it was a year. And then before the summer before our wedding, so like 3 or 4 months before our wedding, moved away from each other because Jason went we lived like 45 minutes away from each other.
Hmm.
And so he went back to where he's getting his PhD because he was like, I cannot concentrate. He tried teaching high school for a year and just like it just wasn't working. So he was like, I need to go back and concentrate to finish my PhD. So he moved away, and then it might have been 2 years that he moved away before the wedding. It's all kind of a blur. So we lived together for a year, then away for two years. Came back for a summer for him to move to here, Westchester. I was still in Indiana. I then moved. He moved in no July. I moved in October here, and then
Oh,
a year and 3 months later, COVID happened.
oh my
So we were
goodness.
like,
Yeah,
COVID was the first time.
that's like a lot.
It was wild. It was so
Yeah.
wild. Yeah.
What did you like better in the beginning? Like, did you like being separate again?
I liked it, and he did too. We talk about it because we missed each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in some relationships, like I'm sure the first time that you went to like St. Louis, like you said, and had that time, like it is fun coming back and missing someone. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Like it just I feel like
No,
gives
I
you
was like literally, praise God. I haven't been without this person's
right.
voice and
That's so like the separation
yeah.
feels good, and then after a while
Mm-hmm.
you're like, I appreciate them more because I'm gone,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I think that helped a lot because when we did move in together, we were just like we didn't realize that each other's schedules were so opposite, and so I think that was really hard to be like, when do we see each other hang out? And so the separation, it really made us recognize quality over quantity time because when we have quantity time, we don't spend quality time together then, and so that's something we still work on now. But yeah, we both liked it. Now
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine
Mm-hmm.
being living away from each other just because our lives are so integrated now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, it's super weird because Colleen's been on medical leave. Well, now she's officially
yeah,
medically retired. But anyway, so she's never like gone to work in the time we've been
yeah,
dating. She's always been home. But now that she's coaching lacrosse, like all of her afternoons are gone and she's doing private too. So she worked on Sunday.
yeah,
It's so weird.
yeah,
Like I'll come home and I'm like, where's Colleen? Like she's like doing work at night to prepare for like the next day. And I'm like, it's like,
yeah,
it's weird.
yeah. During COVID, it was kind of like that because I only got like 6 weeks off for COVID for teaching because where I was at, we went back after 6 weeks.
Wow.
They got like in PA, you could get like a essentially you could apply for this like licensing certificate thing saying that you had first responders or doctors that worked for you, so the kids had to go somewhere. And so we were able to open. It was a private school too. So I was going to work every day, but Jason at the university, they didn't go back. You know, like they
Hmm.
were, you know. So I remember after the spring semester and the summer, and then when he went back, I think it was in the fall when he went back, maybe, or maybe I'm pretty sure it was the fall, or maybe it was even the next spring. Um, being like coming home for lunch and he wasn't there. I'm like, what is this? Like I'm by myself for a moment because every time I was home from work, it was Jason
Hmm.
was home, and then he would
Hmm.
need that stimulation, like oh another adult and a human to talk to because he
Hmm.
wouldn't get that, and I was like I'm tired from talking to
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
so that yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. It really
Yeah.
is.
Um, our last one. It's a partner one again, or a couple.
Oh my goodness.
How can I support my partner's mental health when I suffer as well? I
Oh, isn't that the $1,000,000
yeah.
question?
So me and my husband both have ADHD. Um, I think that both having a mental health diagnoses or illness can help with empathy because even if it's not the same diagnosis, you can sit there and say like, I get it when I'm having a rough time or like maybe I'm not regulated or whatever you're triggered by something that you have empathy then for when your partner's going through something similar. Um, Not to say that it's not difficult though,
Hmm.
especially if like before Jason and I were both being treated for ADHD, like we've talked about it so many times, like how did we function as a couple? Like how did we ever do this? Because like the ADHD that we both have is just it's so like bombastic and just so hyperactive that like I can't believe we weren't just like climbing the walls, especially during COVID, because neither of us were
Yeah,
diagnosed by
I
then.
mean,
Yeah.
that is wild.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you can support by remembering what's going on with you and times and reflect on a time that you might have felt the same way your partner might be and what you might have needed at that
Well, I think
time.
it's kind of what we talked about last week, where like you have to recognize the times where your partner needs more
Yep.
support, and then they need to recognize the times that you need more support.
Yeah.
But your both of your needs have to be being met. So
Yeah.
that's not like, your partner's needs have to be met like at the severe expense of
Yeah.
yourself,
Yep.
Like if you're in like a really, really down time and your partner's in like a really, really down time, I think you probably need like an external
A hundred
person
percent.
to,
Yeah.
help you guys through. But I think too, like with me and Colleen, like it was mental health stuff and it was
Physical.
physical
Yeah.
health. And I'll never forget like one of the first things with her like military stuff. I came outside. She was on the phone with her sergeant major. This was maybe like a few weeks after her first surgery. And Colleen like fully expected after surgery like she was going to go right back.
Mm.
And so she had the phone on speaker and her sergeant major was like, Colleen, you served your country for the best you could for as long as you could. And I don't know why like that statement just
Yeah.
like I still think about that and like get chills.
Yeah.
And I just think I can't imagine how she feels like having something taken away from you that you never thought would be taken away from you. Like you didn't decide it.
No, and I think it's different too. It's not just like losing your career, right? Because if I as a teacher, when I quit in Indiana, I could get a new job in Pennsylvania teaching. Not the same
Mhm.
school, but like, like her career, she can't go back to.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it would have to be in a very different
Mhm.
capacity.
Right.
And that's not what she signed up
Right.
for. Like she
Right.
wants to be in the capacity
Yeah.
she was in.
And at her retirement ceremony, it was just like constantly people coming up like saying how much she impacted them. I made
Yeah.
that video
Yeah.
of like all the people giving their feedback and I was like, first of all, if someone tried to make a video of me like this, it would be like Tell being like she gave me a place to work. Like
Yeah. Like
literally
that's
that's
but
it.
no,
Like I
could be more
wouldn't have like
sincere.
42 people being like you're an inspiration blah blah
You
blah.
changed my life.
Yeah, like, so that's why I was so pumped when she wanted to coach lacrosse because I knew she would immediately transfer all of those skills she had in the
Yeah.
military, like to those girls. And she's doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's shaping them. She's doing what she did to her soldiers
Right.
with these girls.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same, but, you
But it
know,
still like it gives her something to like look forward to and something like you said to like put that energy towards.
yeah. And
Like,
she's really good at it.
yeah.
So, you know, I I mean, it doesn't
No.
compare, but in the video, that guy that you think is hot, remember?
Yep.
He said something about like she forgot him on the what's it called? Save the date list. I was
Rude.
like, you have to go back and put it
Rude.
on there. Tell will be
And
so
Jason and I are
upset.
gonna rage.
Oh my God. All the military guys. There's gonna be so many military guys there. Jason's gonna love it.
He really
I'm
is.
gonna tell Colleen to make sure they wear their uniform.
Yeah. it'd be rude not to.
One of her bridesmen is in the military.
There you go.
One of her guys, yeah. But anyway, the hot guy said something about like, I hope you use your skills, to make a greater effect on the rest of the world or something. I just
Yeah.
like totally botched it, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I think that she has like so much more of a difference to make. And that's something where like I feel like I've had to take a back seat just like with like doing anything like business wise or whatever. Like I never wanted to overshadow
Yeah.
like the loss she was feeling. And
Like you said, it's a give and take. Like, when you want to step in versus,
Mhm.
and I think that's like the important thing. And I also think that's why I tell people like we cannot make, kind of like what I said at the beginning of the podcast, we can't make one singular person our world,
Mhm.
because there are times that like I'm there supporting Jason when something is happening or vice versa. And like if I can only talk to Jason about things, it'd be so unfair to be like, can I unpack on you now? Right. When I know it's something that like, yes, there's things that I know I only uh, need to and can talk to Jason about it, and so I just have to like wait a moment. But like for the most part, like if I want to bitch about something that like happened, or if my sister pissed me off, or like stubbed my toe or something like silly, like that feels big to me, like I'll call a friend or I'll talk to my therapist about it. But I
Mhm.
think it's important that we have those outlets so that we can show up fully for our partner when we know it's like a game of like back and forth
Mhm.
or tic-tac-toe.
Mhm.
Like
And ultimately, it comes back around to communication.
it really does. It really does. Like there should be an entire episode on communication, on
Probably.
how to communicate with your partner.
How to communicate to film this episode on
how
communication
how to right, the process
and
that we
get
go
the
through.
episode posted.
Oh my gosh. I feel like with even a lot of my clients, it's been communication constantly. Like I'm talking about,
Yeah.
how do I fix that? I was frustrated by this, or my doctor said this and I don't know what to say to them, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's all about communication, babes.
All about communication.
We got through it.
We did.
We got through the questions. I know we had a bunch more. We literally just like grabbed like a quarter of them maybe.
Yeah.
Um, and
So
we
there's more surprises.
Yeah, I know. I'm like looking over at the giant pile that's on the floor right now.
Mhm.
And we did it before I had a client. We're
Yeah.
we're proficient kind of today.
Oh my gosh. I moved my client. I probably shouldn't have, but it's fine. My
It's
clients
fine.
are flexible.
I know that's what
Thanks,
I love about them.
guys.
Like they're great.
They are great.
We were gonna start recording at like
11:30.
yeah, I got here at 12:45
And we started recording
at
at
2.
2:07
Yeah, it's
maybe.
3:28, so
Yeah.
we had a lot of stop and goes. It's okay.
I don't even know what we did. What were we doing
You
during
were
that
gluing a nail
time?
on. I
Oh,
was
right. That did
trying to
happen.
set up, and then
I wasn't even making shirts.
no. And then we got ready.
Oh my
And I've
gosh.
gone to the bathroom like 12 times.
Divas.
Always days at the gym. I feel like I go potty constantly. I'm always
Oh,
going potty.
I feel like I never go potty. That's like the
Probably.
nurse thing.
Right. It used to be the teacher thing, and now I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't. I
Yeah.
can't do this anymore. All right. Like I said, we have so many more questions left. If this was a listen that you loved, feel free to let us know. We'll anonymously,
Hmm.
it's a hard one, ask again to get more questions from y'all. But let
Yeah, it
us
was
know.
fun.
Yeah. Or we can probably get full episode ideas from some of these.
Yeah, if you liked any of the topics we talked about
Yeah.
and you want to hear more of our inspirational words, just
Write it
comment and let
in.
us know.
Yeah. Let us know. Give us ideas if you want us to talk about something specific. And we'll see you next week for next week's
Yeah.
episode. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.